Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your Planetary Defense Commander, Star-Lord Nuthor 7, and we're going to take a look at some of the stories that I was looking at during the week where I had major technical problems. And yes, of course, everybody was like, oh my God, everything is awful. Oh God, somebody do something. And hey, let's all try that. Let's all do something. And the best thing we can do is be the best selves we are. And hey, look, weather far outpaces other local news topics in importance for daily life. Yeah, because when the shit hits the fan and the nitty rubs up against the gritty, weather's important to know, and the weather has been wild the last few years. The mighty Thor, is the world lost? Yeah, I don't know, man. It's been a weird run the last few years, and especially since October for me. It's felt like doom, especially at the beginning of every month, but I've survived somehow and thrived. Well, thanks to you guys, because you're fantastic. So, when we all come together, we can do great things. And hey, some people don't mind the rain. I actually love the rain, the lightning, and the thunder. Hey, look, these are the heat anomalies that have been taking place. I wonder if there's some top-heavy volcano action going on. Maybe. All right, young men are having a whole lot less sex since the Tinder age, which is weird. It's really weird. And here's a map on Brexit. Let me come down to the bottom chart. I'm still kind of making these videos with tape and luck, hopefully, because things are still kind of weird. But yep, next steps for Brexit. Pretty much as I've mentioned before, no government seems to have a plan for medium range or long term for the people. Here's the outlook for the United States and Colorado over the next few months. As you can see, it's quite a bit, that we're going to have quite a bit of precipitation anomalies across the board, except for parts of the West Coast during a couple months. And did you know the multivariate analysis indicates that economic elites and organized groups representing business interests have substantial independent impacts on U.S. government policy, while average citizens and mass-based interest groups have little or no independent influence. In English, the wealthy few move policy, while the average American has little power. It's also another reason I recommend people come together. Because, corporations are powerful these days. Nations are powerful. And so, it's a good time for people to come together. For example, like the ITC fire that was in Houston. Man, that thing was weird. And then it just started back up again. I mean, it's out now, but the whole thing was weird. And then France was like, hey guys, we have to have a new type of capitalism or we will die. Yeah, adapt or die. That almost sounds like a line from Thor News, man. France's message, capitalism is quite simple. Adapt or die. Yeah, and when you have the 4 pillars of civilization who really only worry about making money and grabbing power, you run into problems when you have large populations. And the Group of 7, Marie, using France's presidency of the Group of 7 to argue that the system fuels inequality, destroys the planet, and is ineffective at delivering goals in the public interest. The country has already experienced some of the fallout firsthand in the Yellow Vest movement that erupted late last year. It's a crazy time. And it was only at the very end of the year, remember that night when the sky in New York shot blue and everybody made jokes and memes about it. And it was like aliens could be invading or the world could be ending. But somehow everybody got a sense of humor that night. It was really great. I actually really enjoyed that night. It was a weird night. Goldman Sachs is not worried about the inverted U.S. yield curve. All right. Yeah. What, me worry? Worry doesn't help anything. And this is a satellite view of smoke trail from Fireball over Bering Sea, which apparently hit Earth. It was a big deal, except it wasn't a big deal, at the very end, December 19th, right around my birthday. It's crazy. Crazy times. Check this out. Video games. When were they founded? The companies that make them. Nintendo. 1889. Holy shit, Nintendo came about with oil. That explains a lot. You probably meant 1989, but that is still, Nintendo did, now I'm confused. Sega, 1960, Konami, 1969, Activision, 1979, Electronic Arts, EA Sports, 1982, Atari, 1983, Ubisoft, 1986, Epic Games, 1991, Sony Entertainment, 1993, Rockstar Games, 1998, and Tencent, 1998. And we haven't had any big video game companies since then, I guess. This is a weird story that maybe I'll cover one day if things calm down. NASA had a mission. They're like, we're going to have 2 female astronauts go out on the ISS, do a spacewalk. And everyone's like, yay. And then on the day of the mission, they were like, now we're going to cancel it. We realized we don't have suits that will fit our female astronauts. And that was weird, dude. You know, you should check on that stuff before you have missions. But who am I to say? The S&P 500 share buyback seen reaching $1 trillion in 2019 on swollen cash piles. It doesn't help to pay down debt because then you can borrow less as a company, and then, you know, buying your own stock back boosts your stock. I'm not a big fan of buybacks at all, and I think they hurt the economy, but other people who are economists disagree with me. But a lot of that money should be going to the employees, and it doesn't. And you have to have some type of a balance where the people get adequate amount to pay their bills. We're talking about here, Article 13 has just been passed by the EU Parliament, and what it could mean for YouTube creators in America right now. I don't think much, but I don't know. There was some pretty crazy shit in there, man. I watched some videos and did some research on that, and they were saying like they could do it with memes and like I don't know. It just seemed like a really bad deal, man. This was crazy. The Mexican president asked Spain to apologize for actions during the conquest 500 years ago. I don't know if you were with me when I realized that the Spanish Inquisition never really ended. Doesn't seem like anyways. UKIP has led the charge in the European Parliament against the oppressive law. This is a dark day for the internet. UK must leave the EU and develop a digital bill of rights to protect people from greedy corporations and political censorship. So yeah, Article 13, man, it seemed like a big deal. And so while everybody was talking about other stuff, this seemed like a major censorship law was passed that allows for them shutting down a lot of shit. We'll get into that later. Shanty Universe, 5 earthquakes strike the Alabama-Florida border. And in my planetary orbital angular momentum theory, we're going to see more earthquakes on the East Coast and on the West Coast. And then possible volcanoes within the next 2 years on the West Coast. Over internet speeds, the U.S. is not in the top 10. Not surprised. Lame. Super lame. So I think everybody should agree that medical shit is just out of control, man. That 62% of all bankruptcies are because of medical bills, and that somehow the cost of getting taken care of, and then you don't get very good health care. A lot of times people go in for normal treatments and die. It seems like a bad scene, man. The whole healthcare, something needs to be done. You know, and the fact that we've had autism rates and diabetes rates just skyrocket since the 80s, and nobody can explain because they're too busy yelling at anti-vaxxers. And this was the major flood in Mozambique, where you could see like all the water came across and a lot of the water stayed. Although here it was beginning to recede. And I saw from the videos I was pulling, in Iran and Afghanistan had some major floods over the deserts, and that water has nowhere to go, really. Most traffic congested cities in the U.S. The worst ones I've driven in are Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and yeah, they're bad. And so that is another reason to build cities that are adapted to the future. If we build them from scratch, you can have an overall blueprint for travel for the people, and we can cut down on our carbon emissions if that was a goal. And the major farmlands in the Midwest that have been hit super hard right about the time when I got taken offline for about a week. It did major damage to Nebraska, South Dakota, I believe Missouri, parts of Illinois, Michigan maybe. And a lot of crops got hit.